Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and to another match review live stream. Today I'm going to be reviewing yesterday's North London derby, where of course we drew 2-2 with Arsenal at the Emirates. I'm going to be taking your questions, comments and opinions throughout the stream as well, and we'll try and kind of get through everything that we saw at the Emirates Stadium yesterday. So before I get started, if you do want more interactive live streams like this, plus match previews, pre-match live streams, transfer talk, a load of different things, I do all that on this channel. So if you want to get more of that, make sure to subscribe down below and click that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload or whenever I go live. I also have a few links down in the description if you want to check them out. For those watching on the replay, there's going to be a link to a Tottenham Facebook group and a Fantasy Football League, and also to my second channel. So if you want to go and check those out, everything you need for those will be down in the description. Now, coming up on my channel in the next couple of weeks, obviously there's an international break now for the Premier League, but I have a giveaway coming up very, very soon. I'm going to be giving away a free Tottenham jersey. So if you want to stay tuned to figure out how you can win that. I'll also have a big video coming out later in the week. There's going to be 4 other Tottenham YouTubers in the video with me. I'm going to have Lead the Dorset Spur, Tottenham Reese, Ben Spurs 21 and We Are Tottenham TV. So I'm really excited to release that video. So again, if you want to get that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified when I upload that. So I suppose we get straight into things and we'll take a look at that performance at the Emirates Stadium yesterday. And look, we were looking for a response from that game against Newcastle. I think we obviously were expecting it because it was a much different kind of situation, a much different game in general than that Newcastle game. And I personally think we did get it. The performance was a whole lot better. Obviously, we created much more chances. We weren't as solid at the back. There were a few iffy moments there, and obviously we were cut out and conceded 2 goals. But I think all in all, it was a much better performance than that one at home against Newcastle. And we were really unfortunate not to get the victory. But you can also look at it and say Arsenal were unfortunate not to get the victory. It was a very strange game, and both teams would certainly come out of that thinking they could have got all 3 points. Arsenal, I think, having had a lot more of the ball and a lot more of the possession area and stuff like that, they will feel as though maybe they deserved to win that game. But we had so many chances, and if it wasn't for Bernd Leno, which seems to always happen with Tottenham, whatever team we're playing against, the keeper turns into Manuel Neuer or Levi Yashin for 90 minutes. And that's certainly the case with Bernd Leno yesterday. He made a really good save from Heung-min Son on 17 minutes. There was one from the Eriksen free kick. I know he made a mistake, I suppose, leading up to that first goal. He probably should have held on to Lamella's shot, but he didn't. But I think he more than made up for it with some of the great saves he made throughout the game. Of course, we had Harry Kane hitting the post as well, which would have put us 3-1 up at the start of the second half. I think that was probably the biggest moment in the game because we were so unlucky. It was such a good strike from Harry Kane, and another really good move. And I think it was interesting to see that, like, we were expecting us to go out and play attacking football, and for a time we did, but we were mainly really threatening them on the counter attack, and we were so strong and so quick in the transition that they really struggled to deal with us. And it's something that I suppose we were expecting, because we know Arsenal at home in a game like that, they're going to be attacking as much as they possibly can, and they certainly played well for the majority of that game, but they really struggled to deal with us on the counter attack. We had the likes of Son and Lamela breaking forward, and players like Kolasinac and Maitland-Niles, they aren't the strongest defenders in the world. Of course, Maitland-Niles isn't actually, he's not a natural right back, he's more of a centre midfielder who's playing there now in Bellerin's absence. And I think we did really well to take advantage of the weaknesses that they had, because there certainly was a few. As I was saying in my preview, I think the battle would have been won. The biggest battle, I suppose, in the game was in the middle of the park, and I think it was fairly even for a lot of the game. But a player who certainly deserves a mention was Harry Winks. I thought he was absolutely sensational yesterday. Like, obviously he didn't have enough of an impact on the game to change the result and swing it in our way, but he, after having a really poor start to the season, and he was taken off early in both of our games against Aston Villa and Manchester City, and was really poor against Newcastle, I think he really stepped up to the mark. And I think that's kind of the benefit of having a player like him who's Tottenham through and through in your team in a game like this. And even put it up on his Instagram after the game. He said, oh, well, that was a proper derby. And it really was. And he's certainly someone who I thought stood out as a really good player yesterday. Now, just a few people are joining the stream. I'm going to go through the lineup. For the most part, it was what we were expecting. Straight away, it was great to see Jan Vertonghen and Christian Eriksen back in the starting 11. And it's no surprise that did come with the end of the European transfer window today. It's no surprise that it was later on in the window that they did get back into the team. But the lineup, defensively, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was pretty surprised to see Davinson Sanchez out in right back. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are really disappointed with his performances, but I think this season he's been seen as a scapegoat. I have criticised him for the goals we conceded against Newcastle and Aston Villa, because I do think he was at fault for them. But all in all, I don't think he's been our worst player, and I don't think he's been the reason that we've been so kind of vulnerable defensively. But I think considering he was out of position yesterday and he was playing against the Arsenal team, who with that front three, we know how good they are. We know how good Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette are. Sanchez did struggle for a bit, but I think because he was out of position and he was thrown right into the deep end in this performance, in this fixture, I think all in all he did pretty well, and we can't really criticise him too much for that. Now, centre backs Alderweireld and Vertonghen. I mean, it's, you know what you're going to get with them. Vertonghen a bit rusty. I mean, he hasn't played a first team game since the 1st of July, so you can't criticise him too much for that. But he did pretty well, and people are complaining about the first goal, the way they should have done better, but I think it was really, really good close control from Alexandre Lacazette for that first goal that Arsenal did score. And the second one, I think, again, it was just a bit of brilliance from Matteo Guendouzi to pick out that pass to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and it was a good finish as well. So I don't think we can blame them too much defensively, and to be honest, we did withstand a lot of pressure from Arsenal, so I think it was a decent performance from them. Danny Rose in left back, he didn't have too much of an impact on the game. He was decent, but I don't think we can really say he was one of the standout performers. Then back in the middle of the park, Winks and Sissoko again. Already spoke about Winks. Sissoko, it was a typical Sissoko performance, really, an absolute powerhouse in the middle of the park, but you know, when he got into the final third, he really let us down, and he had that chance, of course, in added time that could have won us the game, and it was just, you know, a typical Sissoko shot. And it really is baffling that there's a player like him who, you know, obviously he's not the best player that we have on our team. We know that he doesn't have the greatest technical abilities in the world, but when there's a player like him who's obviously been paid so much money and he's training 5 times a week, you'd really hope that he'd have some bit of finishing ability, and I think he's proven that he absolutely does not. That famous chance against Liverpool at Anfield last season, and now this one. It was such a poor finish, and look, it wasn't the easiest opportunity in the world, like, that has to be said, but you'd really expect a whole lot better from him in that situation. Then the three behind the striker, of course, Son, Eriksen and Eric Lamela. That's probably the three that I would have gone with. I'm not sure what I said in my lineup prediction, but if it was purely my decision, I would have gone with those three. Son, the fantastic player that he is, there's no denying he's a world-class player, so you kind of have to put him in the team. Christian Eriksen, he's the same. I mean, he's been left out of the team twice now this season, and we suffered both times. And I think he would have had a better chance to impact the games against Newcastle and Aston Villa. But it was obviously great to see him back in the team. He got his goal, which was great. His first goal against Arsenal, which actually surprised me. But, you know, he did great throughout that game. And Lamela, his performance against Newcastle was really, really poor, but it was the same with the majority of the team. Welcome Hotspur Daily to the stream. But Lamela, you know, against Aston Villa and Manchester City, of course, against Villa, he won the ball back. That got us the winning goal. So you can say he had a big impact on that game. He got a goal and assist against Manchester City. And I think he's been one of our better players so far this season, not only with that small bit of end product, but he's just someone who gives absolutely everything every time he's on the pitch. And there's people yesterday calling for him to be dropped, calling for Winks to be dropped. But I think Winks certainly proved that he deserves his place in the team. Lamela, obviously a big part in that first goal, it was his shot that was saved by Leno, that Eriksen tucked away. But again, his creativity wasn't what you'd expect from a player who's been playing in the Premier League for so long. Welcome Kai. And it was just a typical Lamela performance, to be honest. But look, it is what it is. He's a player who we've come to expect a lot of hard work from him, but not too much in terms of end products. But I thought he was okay yesterday. And as for Harry Kane, you're always going to have him in the starting 11, and he got his traditional goal against Arsenal. That's now 10 goals against them in 10 games. I think Martin Tyler said something. He's the first player since someone from the double winning team to actually hit double digits against Arsenal, which is absolutely outstanding. Welcome Tenek to the stream, and Hotspur Daily saying, haven't we got a fairly easy run of games after the international break? I would certainly hope so, because it's a really difficult start to the season. Our first 2 away games to be against Man City and Arsenal, and considering we haven't won an away game since a domestic away game since January, and we run almost a record run of poor form away from home, you'd really hope that we will have a bit of an easy go after the international break. But it's always the break between September break and the October break. It's between there that we really, really struggle. and we've been let down in that time in the last couple of seasons. I know when we come back, our first game is at home to Crystal Palace, but if my laptop decides to work here, I'll have a look at the fixtures after that. But I think it's been a good start to the season in terms of that, top 6 mini league, which people say will always decide a lot. And it's obviously really, really disappointing to lose against Newcastle in the way that we did. But the fact that we've gone to 2 of the top 6 already and gotten a point at both of them, 2 places that traditionally we do lose at, I think that's really good. And yesterday, we can say we could have won, but you can also say that that Arsenal could have won. So it was a very strange game in that way. Now, so when we come back after the international break, we have Crystal Palace at home on the 14th of September. Then we have Olympiacos away in the Champions League, and another really difficult away game in the Premier League. We're visiting Leicester after that. Then we're going to play Colchester away, Southampton at home. Let's go through the league fixtures, I suppose. We've Southampton at home, Brighton away, Watford at home, Liverpool away, Everton away, Sheffield United at home, and that'll bring us into the Christmas period then. So some really tough games there. But I think it's the Premier League is getting to the stage where it's always going to be like that, because you have obviously the traditional top 6. You have teams now like Everton, Wolves, Leicester, and even West Ham, who are they're really strengthening a lot, and they're kind of threatening that top 6. I don't think they'd break in this season, but I think they're at a stage now where they're really threatening that top 6. Tenok saying, hopefully Poch feels more secure with his team after the transfer window. Sounded like he was looking forward to it. Yeah, he looked a lot happier in that press conference on Friday, and he even said to some newspapers after the game on Sunday that he's going to have a party on Tuesday to celebrate the window being closed, and it's a massive relief. Obviously not just for him, but for the players as well. They know where their future is, and for the fans, obviously we know who's going to be at the club for the season ahead, and we know Pochettino is going to be a massive advocate in these meetings soon to get that Premier League transfer window extended to the end of August to match the European window again. So this is probably going to be our last time really having to worry about that. I think if we ever do go back to the start of the season, it will be along with the European countries. So I think there's it's good there that this will be the last time. Now, before I continue, if you're enjoying this stream, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share it out on Twitter, Facebook, and if you want to tag me in them as well, I'll go around and like all of those afterwards. Now, as I was saying, we did miss a lot of chances yesterday, and it's something that has become kind of a part of our game in the last year or two. That I keep coming back to it, that last season at White Hart Lane when we were absolutely sensational. We were so clinical in those games, and I remember there's one game in particular that kind of sums up the season that we had, and we were playing Stoke at home, and we were 4-0 up by half time. Harry Kane scored a hat-trick and Dele Alli got one, and 4-0 by half time in any game is amazing, but in the Premier League, not only is it, you get more comfortable, more confident, you get more comfortable that you're going to be winning these games, your goal differences obviously help, but you have a lot of time where you're allowed to, like in that second half, just sit back, relax, and not be too worked up about trying to kill off a game and stuff like that. And I think that is having a bit of an effect on why we're seeing so many more injuries at Tottenham now than we did in mainly that season, because I know our squad is a bit thinner now, and there's a lot more dependence on players to perform weekend in the midweek, weekend again. But I think because we're having to fight every single game until the last minute, I think it's interesting to see that kind of correlation with the injuries that we have. And it's really annoying that there doesn't seem to be anything we can do, because I know people are kind of blaming Pochettino's his training tactics. He does double training sessions a lot of the time, and people are kind of pointing at that and blaming that for the injuries. But I've kind of been thinking about it, and personally I do think it is because of the fact that we're not killing off games early on as much as we were in the past, because Pochettino's training has never changed since the moment he came into the club. It's the exact same, and as Hotspur Daily's saying, we seem to give teams a head start now. It's the same thing over and over again. We obviously did it against Villa, we did it against Newcastle, we did it against City, even though we kind of came back at them pretty quickly. I know Arsenal was very different, but I just think it's interesting to see that correlation with kind of how we're not as good at killing off games, and now we're suffering so many more injuries. Hotspur Daily saying the transfer window change was stupid. I think at the time we all agreed that it was probably a good idea, but it was the fact that no one else followed suit that made it seem a whole lot worse than it is. I think they said it at the time, they were kind of expecting the European countries to follow suit and change the window to the start of the season as well. But I think the main reason that you can see why that's never going to work is because the seasons don't start at the same time. I know the Serie A only started last weekend. They're only 2 games into their season. Obviously we're now 4 games in. I know it's the Bundesliga and Spanish League. I I think it's 4 weeks in a row. It's Premier League, Spanish League, Bundesliga, and Italian League. They all start at different times, and that I feel like is why there's never going to be a time before the season starts that all the windows close at the same time. So at the moment, it does seem like the best option is just to put it back to the end of August, start to September. And sure, it's going to be annoying that we're going back to having our first 4 games of the season where there's going to be news about players leaving, joining and leaving. And I think there will be a lot more players leaving Premier League teams because there is that chance for players to come in. But I think it's better than having the chance of players leaving and not being able to replace them. Like, look at Manchester United now have lost Alexis Sanchez and Matteo Darmian. And I know they're not obviously starting players for them, but they're still, squad players that they're not going to be able to replace now because their window is closed. And even Arsenal now, it looks like they're going to be losing Henrik Mkhitaryan to Roma. So it's a very strange thing that our window does close a lot earlier. But I think when the clubs do meet, I think it's next week or the week after, I'm sure they will schedule a vote to try and get that done as quickly as possible, because it's really stupid that we are sitting there for a month. Players potentially can move to anywhere in Europe, and we're sitting there just kind of hoping that they don't, I suppose. Hotspur Daily saying, do you think we would send anyone today? I don't know. I was expecting a few more to go. I'm still surprised Victor Wanyama hasn't completed his move to Club Brugge, because that deal was agreed towards the end of last week, a £12 million deal to join Club Brugge. And I know there was some people saying that he was kind of holding out for a move to a bigger team in Europe, but he'd agreed terms with Club Brugge to kind of fall back on that one. And nothing has materialised. There was some news sources saying he was going to be going on loan to Celtic for the season. That was quickly refuted by the club. But I think, and Kai saying he will go on loan to Celtic, it's the club have said that he won't be happening. That won't be happening. At the moment, I'd say it looks most likely that he will be staying at Tottenham. But of course, if that deal to Club Brugge has already been agreed and he's just waiting to see if other things will materialise, that could only take a matter of minutes to complete. Alan saying, hi Matt, no notification again. I'm not sure what that is. If you make sure you've clicked the notification bell just below the video, it'll be beside the subscribe button. If you just click it and say click all notifications, there's something going on with YouTube notifications at the moment. I'm not sure what it is, but there's nothing I can do about it. It's all down to them. But yeah, I think Wanyama is the only player that could possibly leave the club today. I was maybe expecting Serge Aurier to leave this window as well, and especially when he wasn't picked yesterday. But I haven't heard anything about any teams interested in him. We could be stuck with him for the season. And Jeff saying, check your sample rate, bitrate. Audio is popping all over the place. I'm not sure what that is. It happens whenever I stream on this software. I honestly don't know how to fix it. I'm not exactly tech savvy. I just use the software. I'm not sure what it is. I apologise for that, but I think this microphone that I've gotten has made it a bit better. But I honestly don't know how to do that, so I apologise. Yeah, but as for Serge Aurier, it's strange that we were so kind of confident earlier in the window that he will be leaving, and we bring in someone like El Zid Husay or Atal from Nice, but that just hasn't happened. And at the moment, it looks like Aurier could be staying at the club along with Victor Wanyama, and Eric Dyer as well was someone who was mentioned about potentially leaving the club. But it's not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, it's someone on the wage book that we don't necessarily need. But if we do get to a stage in the season like we did last year where we're really, really struggling with injuries, these players could come in and they could help us out a lot. And while now we're probably thinking it would be best to get rid of them, they could be really important to us coming towards the end of the season. And especially with players like Serge Aurier, he has that Champions League experience, has the European experience, and he's won trophies in the past. He's not exactly a bad squad player to have. Hotspur Daily saying, maybe we should offer Juventus Wanyama in a swap deal for Dybala in January. If anyone was going to pull that off, it would probably be Daniel Levy. But it's looking good for Dybala at the moment, getting that deal done in January, because obviously Neymar is going to be staying at PSG this summer, and Juventus have said they won't be selling Dybala. People were a bit excited when it broke yesterday, I think, that Icardi would be leaving Inter Milan this summer, but it does now look like he's gone on loan to PSG. So Juventus haven't yet gotten a replacement for Dybala. But of course, there's plenty of time for them to get that done in January, and something could still happen today. And Football.London had an article the other day saying Tottenham have been given the green light to go ahead and pursue Dybala in January. So I think that's something that we really have to keep an eye on, because this is exciting. It could actually happen. Alan Harry saying, it's just YouTube. They have people who decide what notifications we get. A newish policy by Susan, whatever that surname is. Yeah, it's it's really strange. YouTube, they're kind of trying to bring it into a new era of YouTube, and they're trying out a load of different things, and some of it works, some of it doesn't work, and I think notifications is something that they do need to fix again, but I'm sure that'll be sorted out very, very soon. Tenok saying, do you think if Bruno Fernandes signs a deal with Real Madrid, will Eriksen sign a new contract? I think Eriksen will sign a new contract regardless, because first of all, it does look likely that Bruno Fernandes will be joining Real Madrid today, but I think with Eriksen, he always said that if he doesn't leave the club, he would have no problem signing a new contract. And even if he does sign a contract, I think more than likely it would be to just get a bit of extra money when we do sell him in January or next summer. I don't think if he does sign a contract, it would be a long-term thing. But I think he will sign one regardless, because he's not going to be leaving the club. Pochettino said on Sunday that he's committed, which I don't buy it for a second. I don't think he's 100% devoted to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. If he was, he wouldn't have come out and said what he said. But I think now they kind of have to say that, because he is going to be at the club for the next 5 months at least. Hotspur Daily saying, seen a few rumours that Eriksen wants to move to Juventus in January or the summer. And that is a real possibility, because we know Eriksen said he'd only leave for a step up. And there's only a handful of clubs that you can kind of look at outside of England at the moment who would be a step up. And Juventus is certainly one of them. And we know Juventus have previously shown an interest in Christian Eriksen. And there were some reports over the summer that Juventus offered Tottenham a straight swap for Eriksen and Dybala, but Pochettino turned it down. I'm not sure how true that is, and I would hope that if Juventus ever did come in with an offer like that Pochettino would accept it. But a move to Juventus for Eriksen would certainly be a great move for him, and it could work out okay for us in the end, because it would probably see someone like Dybala going the other way, which I think they're very similar players in terms of quality and stuff, but Dybala is a younger player who joining the club would be a much longer term option than Christian Eriksen. So I'd love to see if a move like that did materialise, but of course we have to wait another 5 months. I'm not sure. I've looked a bit into it, and I can't really figure out if it is a possibility that if Juventus offer us Dybala to sign Christian Eriksen, I'm not sure if we can actually accept that now, because the English window is closed. But if it's a player offered in a transfer fee, I think maybe they could be allowed to accept that. But I'm not sure, and it seems really hard to actually figure out all these weird different transfer deals at the moment. And Hotspur Daily saying, how old is Eriksen? He's 27 at the moment. He just turned 27 a couple of months ago. Probably getting into the prime of his career at the moment, but you know, if we are going to bring in someone like Dybala, who I think is 24, he's only going to get better. I think that would probably be a better option for us, because as I said, Eriksen isn't exactly a long-term option. Dybala's 25. Eriksen isn't exactly a long-term option, but he's a great player, so obviously if we have him, it's not the worst thing in the world. And it was great to see the goal he scored yesterday. There was a picture from behind the goal. He had a big smile on his face when he put it in the back of the net. It was a great moment for him, and for us, I suppose, to see him getting that first goal against Arsenal and scoring again in a Tottenham jersey was pretty enjoyable. But anyway, this is all I have time for. Actually, quickly, Tenok saying, do you have a season ticket? I don't. I live in Ireland, so I don't get over to many games. I was at a couple last year and the year before, but unfortunately I don't have a season ticket. I haven't been to the new stadium yet, but I'm going over for a tour in October, I think, but I won't be able to get to a game just yet. That is all I have time for in this stream today. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell. Thanks for watching.